Bonjour mes amis, cette fois nous allons parler des vacances. This time we're going to talk about vacation. And what better place for a vacation than France?
La mer,
France, a country of culture, beauty, and peace. It's always been the perfect place to take a holiday. Not anymore.
First I was afraid, I was petrified. Kept thinking I could never live without you by my side. But then I spent so many nights thinking how you did me wrong. I grew strong, and I learned how to get along. And so you're back.
He's back.
I just walked in,
Smarter.
with that bad look on your face. I should have changed that stupid lock. Should have made
Cooler.
just 1 second. Be back to
And faster. Mr. Bean's Holiday. France doesn't stand a chance.
So there you have it, Mr. Bean's Holiday in France. If you don't know Mr. Bean, he's played by British actor Rowan Atkinson in a BBC TV series. And before that, Rowan Atkinson starred in an older BBC series called Blackadder, with Hugh Laurie, the actor that everyone knows today as Dr. House. Anyway, let's get back to vacation and travel, and before we get too far into that, we need to understand the verb voyager. Voyager is an ER verb like other ones you've learned. Aimer, adorer, détester, and travailler, for example. But voyager has one small difference. Because it ends in GER, it gets a spelling change in the we form of the verb. To understand this, let's take a look at the verb manger, to eat, which also ends in GER.
verbe, manger, mode, indicatif, temps, présent. Je mange. Tu manges. Il mange. Nous mangeons. Vous mangez. Il mange.
Did you notice that in the new form of the verb we add an E in front of the usual ONS ending? We don't usually do that, but in French the letter G makes two different sounds, one hard and one soft. When G comes before the vowels A, O, and U, as in Gare, Gaulle, and Guadeloupe, and when G comes before the vowels I and E, it's a soft G, as in gilet and général. So unless we want to pronounce mangon, we need to add an E after the G to make it soft and get mangeons. And since voyager has the same GER ending, the same happens when we get to the new form. So, je voyage, tu voyages, il ou elle voyage, nous voyageons, vous voyagez, and il or elle voyage. So, now that we know how the verb voyager works, let's get back to Mr. Bean's voyage and ask some questions. First, comment est-ce qu'il voyage? How does he travel? We're going to see another clip of Mr. Bean's vacation, but before we do that, pause the video and go to your online textbook, Chapter 3, Liste de vocabulaire, and scroll down to les transports, means of transport. Then watch the Mr. Bean video and see how many different modes of transport he uses in the clip, so you can answer the question, comment est-ce qu'il voyage?
La mer,
France, a country of culture, beauty, and peace. It's always been the perfect place to take a holiday. Not anymore.
First I was afraid, I was petrified. Kept thinking I could never live without you by my side. But then I spent so many nights thinking how you did me wrong. I grew strong,
back. Smarter. Cooler. And faster. Mr. Bean's Holiday. France doesn't stand a chance.
So, in your textbook you have phrases like en avion, en bateau, en train, en car, en voiture, en métro, en bus, en taxi, à moto, à vélo, and à pied. Which of these does Mr. Bean use, or comment est-ce qu'il voyage? I'll get you started with one answer and you give the rest. So for example, Mr. Bean voyage en train. Okay, pause the video now, use my sentence as a model, and you do the rest. So, how did you do? Did you come up with Mr. Bean voyage en train, Mr. Bean voyage à vélo, Mr. Bean voyage à pied, and Mr. Bean voyage en voiture? Great. Now let's talk about you. How do you like to travel? Use your vocabulary list from Chapter 3, Les Transports, and say how you like to travel. I'll give you my answers first, and then you can pause the video and answer for yourself. Je n'aime pas voyager en avion. J'aime voyager en bateau. J'adore voyager en train. Je n'aime pas voyager en car. J'aime voyager en voiture. J'aime voyager en métro. Je n'aime pas voyager en bus. J'aime voyager en taxi. J'adore voyager à moto. J'aime voyager à vélo. J'aime voyager à pied. Et toi? What about you? Pause the video and answer. Okay, now that we know how you like to travel, let's find out the answer to another question. Où est-ce que tu aimes voyager? First, let's hear from Stéphanie, a French woman, about where she likes to spend her vacation, or as the French sometimes call it, les grandes vacances. Click on the link below marked Les Grandes Vacances, which will take you to Stéphanie's description of her vacations. As usual, you can switch between English and French versions of the transcription by using the buttons below the text. Pause this video and go ahead to Stéphanie's description of Les Grandes Vacances. So, before we get to your vacation, what exactly are Les Grandes Vacances? Well, in France and in most of Europe, Les Grandes Vacances takes place around the month of August, and it's a bit longer than the vacation we usually have here in the US. Take a look, for example, at how many weeks vacation Americans typically have, depending on their years of experience on the job. Now compare that to the number of weeks French people typically have. You can see in this chart that the least amount of vacation French people usually have is about 4 weeks, and this only increases as they have more years on the job. And most people tend to take this vacation around the same time, in the month of August and the beginning of September. So Stéphanie, one of the lucky French people with long vacations, les grandes vacances, for her, one of the places she likes to go is à la plage, to the beach. So you've already answered the question, comment est-ce que tu aimes voyager? Now answer the question, où est-ce que tu aimes voyager? Where do you like to travel? Nancy gave us one destination, à la plage. Here are a few more. À la campagne, à la forêt, à la montagne. I'll give my answers first and then you do the same. Je n'aime pas voyager à la plage. J'aime voyager à la campagne. J'aime voyager à la forêt. J'adore voyager à la montagne. Et toi? Pause now and give your own answers. Okay, finally, now that we know how you like to travel, where you like to travel, Let's answer one more question. Quand est-ce que tu aimes voyager? When do you like to travel? To answer this, let's take a look at les saisons, the seasons.
Le printemps. L'été. L'automne. L'hiver.
You can see les saisons, the seasons, in your online textbook in Chapter 3, Liste de vocabulaire, les saisons. But when we talk about doing things in these seasons, we say them this way. Au printemps, en été, en automne, and en hiver. So, quand est-ce que tu aimes voyager? I'll give my answers first, and then you pause and do the same. J'aime voyager au printemps. J'aime voyager en été. J'aime voyager en automne. J'aime voyager en hiver. Because j'adore voyager. I love to travel, so anytime is okay with me. What about you? Pause the video and give your answers. So, how did you do with our three questions? Comment est-ce que tu aimes voyager? Où est-ce que tu aimes voyager? And quand est-ce que tu aimes voyager? If you have questions still, watch this segment again and see Chapter 3 of your online textbook. Otherwise, that's it for this segment. À la prochaine!